Today, the road to commercialization. My name is Jessica. I work at Prenetics, and I will be moderating this panel. So commercialization is obviously a very huge topic, and in general, this refers to the process of getting your product, technology, service to the market with the goal of making a lot of money and achieving widespread adoption. And for our short discussion, 30 minutes long today, we will actually be focusing mainly on, first, what are some commercialization best practices from the perspectives of our expert panelists, and then we will then be focusing on the challenges unique to growing and operating a healthcare business. And then in the end, if time allows, we will then dive into some current trends that impact a healthcare business. And so I don't know about you guys, but I am personally very excited to be here because at Prenetics right now, I am part of a very small, lean, intrapreneurial team. And we're working on launching and developing this new health check service called CircleX, and you can come find me about this later. But since we are building this business from the ground up, I'm looking forward to getting a lot of insights and tips from these experts here on the ground to take our service to the next level. And so, on that note, it's time to introduce our experts. So I'll start with Mitul Lakhani. Mitul Lakhani is the Director of Strategic Ventures and Corporate Transactions at AIA. And in his role at AIA, Mitul establishes end-to-end the strategic investments and partnerships with digital and tech-enabled businesses that are synergistic to AIA's strategy across the entire Asia-Pacific region. Previously, Mitul spent 10 years in investment banking. And before this, his experience actually spans beyond healthcare, and he served as CFO for Toon Hotels, as well as the CFO and CEO of iMoney Group. He's also led strategic investments and the management of pre-seed and seed stage startups for a Malaysian VC. And then moving on to Philip Sin. Philip is the head of capital markets and corporate development at BioMed. BioMed is a clinical stage gene therapy company. The company's therapeutics pipeline currently includes, and this turns into a tongue twister for me, but the therapeutics pipeline includes rare diseases such as hemophilia and age-related degenerative diseases such as Parkinson's and osteoarthritis. Now, given Philip's 20-plus years of experience as, again, a seasoned investment banker, he plays a key role in raising capital and corporate development at BioMed, which actually 2 weeks ago announced their commercialization collaboration with Takeda, China. So we can expand more into that later. Outside of work, Philip is actually an avid tennis player because he believes that racket sports have huge anti-aging benefits. Anti-aging. That's probably why you left iBanking to join a healthcare.
Yeah, so I have more time to play tennis now.
Yeah, awesome. Now, last but not least, I would like to introduce Dr. Ma Qiyuan. Dr. Ma. Dr. Ma is the CEO and CEO and founder of Time Medical Systems. Now, Time Medical Systems was founded in 2006 and is a global leader in the medical imaging field. The company actually launched a new manufacturing facility earlier this year. This manufacturing facility is the first large-scale medical equipment production facility in Hong Kong and the largest MRI production facility base in the Greater Bay Area and in Southeast Asia. So this really speaks to Hong Kong's innovation in design and research capabilities. Dr. Ma has been a professor at Columbia University, Harvard Medical School, and Hong Kong University. He owns 30 patents. He has published over 200 papers, while also having served as an advisor to IBM, GE, as well as to the high-tech parks in Shanghai and Beijing. It's very impressive. All right, so with our introductions, let's dive into, actually, the first part of our discussion, which is commercialization best practices. Now we're gonna do this based on our panelists' experiences because everyone actually is in or has a lot of expertise previously in companies of different growth stages. So we're gonna go by company growth stage and talk about these best practices. Starting with an early stage company that is looking to fundraise, maybe we'll then start with Philip. Philip, could you then walk us through how a company at your stage right now can effectively fundraise to support their growth?
Yeah, so Believe BioMed was founded in 2018, so only 5 years old. And in the scheme of therapeutic development, we are very young. And so I'm really humbled today to be able to talk about the topic of commercialization. I think our colleague did a phenomenal job to sign that deal with Takeda China 2 weeks ago. I'll talk more about it later, but to address your question for early stage company, how do you effectively fundraise? I think, especially in environment like the past 2 years where the US dollar rates have gone up quite high and probably will stay high, I think VC funding is much harder to come by. For every founder of startups, you need to really figure out what's your value proposition. What are you developing that is so much better than what solutions currently exist for patients? So, for example, when we deployed money in any early discovery program, we need to really have a very complete target product profile. What are we creating that is better than the standard of care? Is it better in terms of patient's outcome? Are you achieving the same results with much less resources? So which is really what gene therapy is about, because one dose of gene therapy can have very long-term efficacy. So imagine the patient just need to go to hospital once, get dosed, come out, and not have to worry about redosing again for possibly decades. It's really innovative and very disruptive to the existing therapies. But it's also very good for patients and good for the environment. You're saving a lot of trips back and forth to hospitals and clinics. So I would give this advice to all startup companies, especially for therapeutic companies. Really focus on thinking about who are you competing with in the marketplace. Make sure that your therapy is truly differentiated and creating value for patients to the payer system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Philip. Actually, on that note about differentiation and finding a niche, I recall, Dr. Ma, you actually pointing this out about how to really differentiate yourself in the market. Dr. Ma, you've built the company from the ground up. Your company is a leader in pioneering MRI technology. Could you expand on Philip's point?
Sure. First of all, thank you to join this meeting. I'm probably the only full-time professor give up academic and running a company in Hong Kong, maybe most of the part. So why? Which relate to your commercialization issue. Actually, we see the needs. When I was a radiology professor, we see undressed market, undressed service for medical imaging. For example, for women breast screening, okay? And in US, of course, every woman over 40 has annual screening service, mandatory. But in Asia, it does not exist. Even in Hong Kong, I don't know how many women in this room has your breast annually checked, going to a diagnostic imaging. Hong Kong and most of the parts of Asia, like India and China, has no annual breast cancer screening for the woman needed. And that's why our breast cancer screening, or the breast cancer infection rates and breast cancer deaths is very high. So when you saw those needs, then for us, we were building the system, and we immediately think about maybe we should build a system for a specific dedicated niche market. I think the first commercialization with the tip I could give is going to dedicated special market. Although the market has to be certain size. For example, in US Venture Association guideline, each of the startup market in terms of commercialization, you think about should be $1 billion. So if you think about you can have a $1 billion market, then you will be leading in that market as top 3. You got your business done. Okay, I think that would be kind of a thing we were thinking about to do commercialization. Even though our company is first started in 2008, so this year is our 15 years in Hong Kong Science Park. So we're kind of the oldest startup company in the Science Park in Hong Kong. But today, we have a product launched and sold to 16 countries, also in Europe, in America, and back to in Asia. I think those probably my experience is that you think about a market which is the big corporation is now addressing, and which also demand high need, and that will be the commercialization pathway to be successful.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ma, and we'll dive into market expansions later.
Okay.
So we'll actually jump to Mitul. Mitul, would you like to expand on the point about, so when a company reaches the stage where they found product market fit, now what do they do? What is the strategy here in terms of commercialization? What are the key things they need to look for to scale and monetize?
Thanks. Thanks, Jessica. Look, great to be here and see everyone here. I'll try to share some perspectives in terms of my own experiences working for or being involved or part of a sort of a scale-up stage company, but also perspectives from my experience at AIA. So, look, I think I kind of like to think about it 2 different phases, right? So when you're thinking about commercialization after you've got product market fit, what is the legwork that you need to start thinking about doing and putting together to put in place the strategy, and then what happens after that? So first thing is, and which we found really important, again, we were serving financial services companies, so banks, insurance companies, and so we actually mapped out the entire ecosystem in terms of who are the different stakeholders. So in the case of healthcare, who are the stakeholders out there? It's your payers, it's your healthcare providers, it's your governments, it's your pharmaceutical companies. So that's 1. 2, who it is that you're targeting with your solution, and I don't mean like just focusing on who you're solving the problem for, but also who do you think is going to be willing to pay for your solution, right? And one of the things that helps assess that is, just seeing and researching in the market what some of the players in these stakeholder groups are doing around technology, around innovation. What are the kind of companies are they partnering with? How much are they spending in terms of their own innovation incentives and ambitions and strategy? Because the reality is, those are the kind of companies you probably want to have at the top of your list when you want to go and have these discussions. So that's sort of the second thing. The third thing is, look at also other startups within your ecosystems. Look at your peers, position yourself as though if you're building, say, a workflow solution, then do you want to be partnering with someone who can help you get access to your end client faster? If you're building an intelligence layer solution that requires, to be integrated as part of processes or workflows, then maybe you're better off partnering with the workflow solution provider to then get to your end client. So think about how to get to the end client as well. The other thing is planning for that first or second or third pitch that you're going to make to your prospective client, right? When I'm sat as a payer or reviewing companies and they come to pitch to us and they're telling us what they want to do, I think what's really important is do you have any proof of outcomes? That could be clinical evidence. That could be patient-reported outcomes. That could be even, what value or ROI you've driven for your first client. That is really important for me. The second thing is, think about the path of least resistance. So if you're going to come and if you're going to go to these healthcare providers, insurers, and if they're going to be your target client base, and you're going to go to them and say, okay, the only way this works is I need access to your data. We need to do a lot of integration, et cetera, et cetera. It's going to take 6, 9, 12 months. You're going to face a lot more resistance. So if you go away and then think about what can I build that actually gives me the fastest entry, because this is a solution that they can just quickly plug and play, and then I can use that as an entry point for upsell, cross-sell, et cetera, then you'll find that actually an easier path to resistance. So I'll give an example. We were looking at a startup out of India. They spent 3 or 4 years developing a solution, which is a great solution. And they went out to market and they found a lot of resistance because it requires a lot of integration. It requires a lot of access to data. So they actually then went away and said, this is not working, right? The sales cycle is too long. We're getting a lot of pushback. There's a lot of other things that these guys have, the clients have on their mind. So they went away and basically developed a couple of other solutions, which were very simple API plug-and-play solutions, very low price points. They then used that as an entry point. So what that gave them, there was an in, and that way they could then take the conversation to the next level. So look, I think just sharing some experiences based on what we've seen and done. The last thing I want to end is start thinking about risks as well. And by what risks, I mean things around regulatory risk, right? Do you have what you need from a regulator perspective? Then the second piece is, are you reliant on a single customer, or do you have that diversification? And if not, how are you going to get to that as well? Maybe I'll stop there. I could keep going forever, but hopefully that's helpful.
That's super comprehensive. I feel like we've covered everything for the rest of the panel. But okay, we'll dive more into more questions later. But thank you so much, Mitul. Before we move on to challenges, actually, because that's the next topic, I wanted to bring the conversation back to Dr. Ma, because now then we would like to talk about the strategies to deploy for a company that is more at the mature stage. A company that is looking to expand its market reach and distribution channels. What are some quick tips, Dr. Ma, that you could share?
Okay, I think we are in the so-called hardware, more the medtech side, which is a medical equipment, and it's also major medical equipment, where our market is totally dominated by 5 players globally. They own the 95%. So when you have a startup or a new company coming into a so-called dominant player market, you have to think about strategy. I already mentioned that niche market and underserved market. However, today I'm also share the common thinking, because in the medical technology side, mostly Asia country, people tends to wants to be quicker, successful. You need a condition, which is me too. So lots of companies, if you look at China, others adapt the so-called Me Too technology. In other words, using the original technology developed by like Moderna, US and Europe country, and then license in, and then went to another developing country, quickly occupy market using your local network. I think those are probably fast way for a startup from beginning all the way to go IPO. And the next help, when we beginning of this meeting, and Duncan and a few others talk about invest and in startup in biotech now, is simply because there's a lot of capital market help for pharmaceutical company, medical device company, and medical tech company going to IPO very much fast way. As an example, our Hong Kong biotech listing, it's already over 50 companies. Most of those companies are Me Too, licensing a product into maybe China market. I think those are the way probably if you establish a company like that, it will be fast way. However, if you establish a company has disrupt technology like us, you probably have to think about a long way to go, and that's why we build many years. I think for those the innovative company, you need to have a strategy, how your innovative product going to each different market, and then working on those markets. And of course, for me, we cannot use our example because I was a professor myself. Now we're making a system and the AI product into a previous our employee, like Harvard Medical and so on. I think the other issue related is we are very good in the particular medtech area. We talk about AI. For the AI part, I don't know if everyone knows we'll talk about the radiology in the previous panel. In US, every year we generate over, maybe today is about 60 billion imaging data, and each radiology in the United States have to read 6,000 images per day. So you have no way can do that. You have to use AI. And then the issue is for developing country, for the Asia, most country, is not system, not ready yet. So we have to rely on AI to do the medical service, and the AI will provide that. And with those companies provide those AI, probably will win and getting the more support and getting funding. Because again, I have to emphasize, we are more focused on the service market. In other words, something for routinely available in US and European, but a lot of Asian country, or we call the low-income country, has no such service. If you provide that with a cost-effective way, you win the market, you will be much faster growing company.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ma. With this, let's actually go into the next topic, which is let's explore some of the unique challenges specific to operating in the healthcare space. Let's start with you, Mitul, because you've had previous experience even beyond healthcare. You gave us a very good framework just now on how to commercialize. How does this compare and contrast to the other types of businesses you've run before in terms of commercialization?
Sure, thanks. Look, I can't pretend to say I'm a healthcare expert, but from the companies that we've met in sort of the digital health and health tech space, I think there's one clear realization that health tech and digital health takes a long time to scale, right? So you got to be really realistic. You got to make sure you're managing your investors' expectations. And so to me, that was a pretty big eye-opener when it came to sort of health technology and digital health. So take the time, be realistic, and manage your investors' expectations. I think there was a piece of research done by Bessemer Ventures out of the US, where they talked about and they compared sort of the scalability of health tech and digital health companies versus other sort of sector tech companies. And I think the outcome of the research was, health tech companies typically take 2 to 3 years longer to scale to get to the same level of scalability. So I think that's one. I think the second one is, I think health tech, digital health is solving a very, very big problem. It's also a very personal problem for a lot of people. So trust is a big thing. So you really need to make sure that, you keep that top of mind. And this is not just trust for the end consumers and the individuals, but also trust with doctors, trust with insurance companies, trust with regulators, trust with the pharmaceuticals, because you're really, what you're doing is literally affecting people's lives. So look, I think to me, those are two key things which probably are very different from a health tech and a digital health and probably a healthcare perspective as well.
Thank you, thank you. Philip, would you like to expand on that? And especially with an early stage company, you're probably running with some pretty tight resources in terms of building teams to focus on sales, BD.
Yeah. So I think I really like the fact that just on this panel, there's a wide spectrum of healthcare value chain. So I work for a therapeutics company, which I think is very different from med tech, very different from health tech, and very different from to consumer diagnostics, which Prenetics is doing very well. So I can only speak for therapeutics development company, which has a very long cycle. Typically, it takes about 10 years to go from early discovery to getting the product approved, right? So with such a long cycle, right, we need to really be smart about where we deploy resources. So we don't want to be everything for everybody. Our, I think, forte is really in discovery and clinical development of a very novel gene therapy. So that's why we signed a CSO deal, a contract sales organization deal with Takeda China to for them to distribute our hemophilia B gene therapy in the greater China market, which when I first joined the company 18 months ago was not even on the agenda, right? But we decided to do that deal anyway because it is a very good partner we find in Takeda. They have a ready hemophilia blood products sales team ready to go. And they are very hungry to get more products through the platform. And they identified our product as a missing piece in their whole portfolio. And that's why it worked very well. The deal took a long time to negotiate, but I'm glad that it happened so that I can talk about it today. So I would advise other therapeutics companies to also look to outsource your other functions that may not be core to your value drivers. But obviously, I think in the medtech and health tech space, you can have different answers.
Thank you so much, Philip. And Dr. Ma, what about the challenges with expanding into different international markets?
Yeah, well, as we all know today, particularly these 2 years, there's lots of political and environmental change. So how are you going to address that? I think our strategy is very simple. If you define you're a global company, of course, there is one market issue, and then you go to others. That's the first common and first solution. The second is if we have an innovative product, which is kind of non-reproducible, then even every country will adapt your product or service, and then those are the things we have to think about it. Today, another challenge in certain countries like China is government purchasing and anti-corruption things. We're hurting a lot of company project revenue. I think for those traps, we have to be avoid is try to find an innovative way in terms of sales marketing in those countries. Again, you sort of focus your own key product and making global sales marketing plan step by step. And you cannot be overnight become rich. I think those days are gone. So be more realistic, be more sort of focused, and then we believe the winter will be soon gone, and spring will come in, and every company with biotech in Hong Kong will be prosper. Okay?
Thank you so much. And before we wrap up this panel, I would like to maybe do some rapid fire questions. Each person only gets one question. It's easy, don't worry. Philip, name the one thing that you do when reaching out to a new potential investor that always leads to the next meeting.
Make it memorable, right? Make them want to learn more, right? So, which I think I'm pretty good at. They always want to sign an NDA after they met me, but I can share the secret sauce with you guys in the coffee break.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Mitul, for a startup looking to be a part of AIA's ecosystem, what is one thing, though, that immediately makes you lose interest? Red flag.
Wow, that's a tough question. I'll try to keep this a rapid-fire answer. I think for me, red flags is when their pitch is really long and the solution is extremely complex, and they've made very limited traction, but they talk about having a lot of clients.
Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, Dr. Ma, I'm sure as you've built up the company, there were a lot of trials and tribulations along the way, mistakes made, lessons learned. But what was the biggest mistake that you ever had?
I think when we first launched a product in China, going to the public hospital, we're facing huge fighting, with dominant local players, and then people feel that you are the local product you should be building and easily getting into the hospital. It is not. So, honest with you, our market today in China, Asia, and even global is not mostly on private sector. So we're the leading medical imaging system service provider into the private sector, like imaging centers, and then we find a niche differential market. Okay, so we spent 5 years into the public hospital market, it doesn't work. Okay, if we have a similar product of course now we are launching a new product which is not existing in the market, like breast cancer, baby MI, things like that. So you think we are a local company, right? We don't have product in each of those Hong Kong hospitals, but we do have lots of product outside Hong Kong.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much once again, Mitul Lakhani, Philip Sin, Dr. Tian Ma. Thank you so much.